welcome to Ivory Blush Roses, Crazy Quilting and Beyond. My name is Lisa Boney, and together we're going to explore the world of crazy quilting. In today's episode, we're going to look at basic crazy quilting supplies. It's surprising how few things you really need to make a beautiful crazy quilt block. What do you really need in order to crazy quilt? One of the biggest myths that I hear is people saying, "Oh, I don't have enough stuff." The reality is you can crazy quilt with very little in the way of supplies and turn out a beautiful project. So this is my minimalist set of crazy quilting supplies. First and foremost, you need something to use as background fabric. My very favorite thing to use is plain unbleached muslin, and I usually choose a thread to match. You don't need a sewing machine, although a sewing machine can be helpful in the early piecing stages. I also have made do with just a simple fat quarter of some plain cotton and a matching thread. Something simple. Most crazy quilt blocks are small. They're usually under a foot square, and so it's easy to use small amounts of things. The next thing you need is some scraps of fabric. These are just scraps that I have left over from various projects, but I have used scraps of old clothing, old bed sheets. You can use so many things, and it doesn't involve a big outlay of money. And if you know somebody who quilts or who sews, they may already have a box of scraps that you can choose from. All of those things can be very helpful. But the thrift store is a good source of inexpensive clothing, and many places, like Goodwill especially, often will have bins or boxes of clothes where you can go through and fill a bag for $1. And that's a great way to get some fun fabrics that you might not otherwise see. These are just scraps of quilting cottons, and if you're learning how to crazy quilt, I often think that they are the easiest to learn to quilt on. Everybody wants to do fancy fabrics, but it doesn't need to be fancy fabrics, and we'll talk about those at a later date. The next thing you need is a pair of scissors. Just a pair of good fabric scissors. It doesn't matter what brand. You also need a good set of needles, and a basic pack of embroidery needles with a variety of sizes will do the job just fine to get you started. As you progress and you're using fancier threads, you may want to experiment with using different needles, but just a simple package of embroidery needles. These are from DMC, but you can also get them made by Dritz and Singer that are easily available at most fabric shops. These all work just great, and they'll do the job for you just fine. But get one that's got a variety of sizes, because that will help you as you embroider with different threads. The next thing that you need is some embroidery thread, and generally embroidery floss is easily available at most stores. You can buy it at Walmart, you can even buy it at Target, you can find it at the generalized fabric stores. It's easily available, and just an array of colors will help give you some variety to choose from. You don't need a lot, just have an assortment. One of the things that people often ask me is, how do you get your threads to stand up on the crazy quilt, where they seem to sit above it? And the trick is using pearl cotton. The most commonly available pearl cotton are these DMC, and I believe these are a size 3 pearl cotton. We can check that. Usually it says somewhere, nope, this one is a 5. It has the number 5. For my own practical purposes, that's usually about the largest that I use, but occasionally I will use a 3, and I don't actually have any here with me. These are all 5s, but they sit up nice on top of the fabric, and so it's easier to have a defined stitch, where the embroidery threads, especially if you're using just a couple strands of thread, tends to lay flatter. But the reality is, to create a fun, embroidered, traditional crazy quilt, that's all you need. Some base fabric, some needles, scissors, scrap fabrics, embroidery thread, maybe some pearl cotton, and you're all set to go. Nice and simple. Thank you for watching this episode of Ivory Blush Roses, Crazy Quilting and Beyond. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to be notified of new episodes. Give me a thumbs up below and leave me a comment about what your favorite basic crazy quilting supplies are. Thank you for watching. Happy stitching. It's time to go create something beautiful.